everybody? This is Colin back here with another Waiver Wire Tuesday for you on the college football mornings. If you're new to the show here, we're going to be breaking down some waiver wire pickups for your C2C leagues. Before we get started here, be sure to like the video down here below, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're dropping a show every single morning for you on these college football mornings. You're not going to want to miss these. We're going to get right into it here, and waiver wire pickings are pretty slim at this point of the year. Most of the guys that are going to be potential league winners probably already rostered here. So there's nobody that I'm really rushing out and adding in all formats at this point. Now, we do have some guys that, I would add in deeper leagues or leagues where you have unlimited waiver pickups. And then we have a couple of watch list guys here. First guy we got on the deeper league ads is Percy Obese, the running back for James Madison. Look, James Madison has been fantastic this year. Their first year at the FBS level. They're averaging 44.2 points per game, and they have a lot of weapons in this offense. Todd Centeio, the quarterback, and Chris Thornton at wide receiver. Percy Obese is a guy that we thought was going to be very productive for them this year. Now, he has been banged up this year at times, but he is back. And when he's healthy, he receives the bulk of the carries. He averages over 5 yards a touch, gets a ton of yards after contact. And James Madison might be the favorite to win the Sun Belt at this point, especially given that they're undefeated. Percy Obese could be a guy who gets you 20 plus points per game down the stretch, especially if they get some favorable game script. He already has 2 20-point games under his belt so far. This is a guy that I would be adding in some deeper leagues, especially if you need one last running back to make a big push. Another guy that I would be adding here is Jalen Jenkins, running back for Washington State. He is only 2% owned at this point. Starting running back at the beginning of the year, Nakia Watson was out last week, and the true freshman goes for 130 yards and 13 carries and adds 54 yards on 2 catches here. Nakia Watson is already confirmed as out for this week. So Jalen Jenkins going to be in line for another start here. He was a 3-star prospect. He's a bit on the small side, 5'8", 177 pounds, but he ran for 1,500 yards and 22 touchdowns and had 26 catches for 295 yards and 2 more touchdowns at Allen High School in Texas. This is a 6A school, and they regularly compete for national or for state championships. They've had Kyler Murray come from this school. This is a pretty big time program, and he was the co-MVP for his district in 6A. So this kid can play. True freshman here, so you're going to be looking at several years of production. And I'm not rushing to add any of these players that I'm listing here today off the waiver wire, but deep leagues, unlimited leagues, Jalen Jenkins is a guy you can add. You get some production for him this year. He could also be a guy who produces for you down the stretch next year as well. Next guy up on the list here, we have Brendan Brady, running back for UTSA. UTSA has been an offensive juggernaut all year, mostly behind their passing game. But Brendan Brady, the running back that we want in this offense, he does have 4 games over 20 fantasy points this year. He's had double-digit carries in 5 of 6 games. He's averaging just under 3 targets per game as well. He's only 15% owned at this point. He's another guy that you could help a lot down the stretch here, particularly if you're thin at running backs or if you have a couple of bye weeks coming up here. That might be rough for you. The last guy that I would add in the deeper leagues or unlimited waiver wire leagues is Seydou Traore, the tight end from Arkansas State. According to Fantrax, he's 27% rostered. I'm not exactly sure how, to be honest with you. This is not a guy that I was aware of prior to last week, but he has been productive so far this year. 4 games with double-digit points this year. The only game he did not hit that total was against Ohio State. He also has at least 60 yards in every single game, again, except against Ohio State. Now, Arkansas State has a soft schedule down the stretch, so he should continue this, this level of production. If you're desperate at tight end, If you just lost Michael Trigg to that broken collarbone, if your other guys haven't panned out, I think he's worth a look. But he, again, not a guy that I'm rushing to add here. A couple guys on the watch list here. Not guys that I'm adding yet. Guys that I want to keep an eye on, want to see maybe a little bit more out of. First one on the list, Devin Mockabee, running back for Purdue. He is 1% owned at this point. He's averaging 14 fantasy points per game, so pretty solid total there. He has double-digit fantasy points in every single game this year. Now, he did not play week 1 against Penn State, but he's also averaging 3 targets a game, so he gets involved in the passing game as well. And he is just a sophomore here. So you can get maybe a little bit of production this year, but you also might be looking at some future production as well, particularly with starting quarterback Aiden O'Connell out of eligibility. We don't exactly know what the passing attack is going to look like next year. Maybe they lean a little bit more in the running game. Hard to say. The rest of this year, probably not counting on him for production. They get Wisconsin, Iowa, and Illinois in 3 straight games after Nebraska this week. So don't pick up Devin Mockabee. Just add him to the watch list. Guy to keep an eye on. If he actually performs well against Wisconsin, Iowa, and Illinois, then we can start talking about adding him this year. Another guy that I'm keeping an eye on here is Marlon Gunn, the running back for ECU. He is 1% owned according to Fantrax. He's a true freshman, a 3-star guy. He had a couple of Power 5 offers, including TCU and Florida State. So not a bad recruiting pedigree there. Nice get for East Carolina. Running back Rajay Harris, we already know, is out for the rest of the year. The other running back there, Keaton Mitchell, has been banged up. Marlon Gunn has been getting a little bit more opportunities here, particularly with these injuries of the running backs. So he is a guy who might start to increase some production down the stretch here. They don't have an easy schedule the rest of the way. So I'm not picking up Marlon Gunn. And Keaton Mitchell's availability does have impact on what kind of production you can expect from Marlon Gunn. But given that he's a true freshman, given that he has a solid recruiting pedigree, another offense that's going to be in some flux next year after they lose quarterback Holton Allers. So Marlon Gunn is a guy that I'm definitely keeping an eye on here as well. Another guy on the watch list here, and the last one is Jaquez Stewart, running back for Toledo. He is 1% owned as well. All offseason, we were kind of looking at who was going to be the lead running back here for Toledo. Was it going to be Penny Boone? Was it going to be Micah Kelly? Given the production we saw from Bryant Koback last year, it was definitely a role that we were intrigued by. Now, we weren't expecting Bryant Koback levels of production, but we thought maybe this could be a guy who produces for us. Jaquez Stewart has now become the lead RB for Toledo. He's got double-digit carries in each of the last 3 weeks. He's got a touchdown in the last 2 games as well. He was a 3-star all-purpose back in the class of 2019. And he has a redshirt year in there, so he is just a sophomore. He's got a couple more years of eligibility there. In terms of this year, Maction plays coming up. Very soft schedule down the stretch. Definitely a guy worth keeping an eye on here to see if, maybe he has a couple blow-up weeks. Maybe at that point you add him. But the extra years of eligibility there do make him a guy to keep an eye on moving forward as well. I also want to just remind people that, we have mentioned a couple other guys on these lists here before. Guys like Devontae Walker, Ja'Shawn Jackson, some of those guys are still available out there in leagues. So if, you're looking for some more guys, definitely check out some of our other shows. We've mentioned other players before that we were watching, that we were picking up. Definitely go check some of those out. But that is going to do it for us here today. Again, like the video, subscribe down below. Don't miss anything that we have coming out because we got something coming for you every single morning. But that's going to do it for me here this morning, and have a good day, everybody.